Do you do all your practice on the driving range from a flat lie, perfect conditions, but really struggle when you get on the golf course when you get an uneven lie? In this video, we're going to look at how to play from an upslope, from a downslope, and when the ball's above and below your feet. That will give you the opportunity to hit better shots when you're out on the golf course and make your practice more like your competitive golf. So the first one we're going to look at is when the ball's on an upslope. So our natural tendency would be to lean into the slope and try and drive the ball forward. What we need to do is understand how the lie is going to affect how the ball flies. So the ball is going to naturally come out slightly higher. So you might need to go down a club to allow for the ball going higher. The other key bit we need to focus on is how do we set our body to make sure we stay perfectly aligned. As I've spoken about in other videos, neutrality is absolutely key. Making sure we maintain a neutral position and don't have any real kind of big positions that are out of alignment. So it's exactly the same when the ball's on an upslope. So what I want to feel like I'm doing is I want to feel like I'm aligning my spine to the slope. So if the slope's at this kind of degree that I'm on now, I make sure I've got my spine nicely aligned to that. That will mean it feels like I've got a bit more pressure on my trail leg, but I'm now working with the slope. What that then enables me to do is to swing on plane and swing up the slope, get a really nice contact, and know that the ball's going to come out higher, but I'm going to get a really good contact. Contact is key when we've got these uneven lies, and the best way to achieve that is to match your body to the slope. So here's what that looks like. I assess my lie, I know it's going to go slightly higher, so I've gone up a club. I've got an 8-iron distance, but I'm hitting a 7-iron here, just because I know it's going to come out a little bit higher. I'm going to make sure I'm nice and compact in my golf swing, and I stay nicely in control. As I set up to the ball, I'm feeling like I'm aligning my spine angle to the angle of the slope, standing nice and tall, feel a bit more pressure on my trail side, but I'm just going to feel like I'm nicely compact, and then I release up the slope. Let's see how we go. Lovely. So that's come out nice and high, just the distance I wanted to. I'm now on the green and I've got a nice putt for a birdie. Okay, so now we're going to look at a downhill lie. So the first thing we need to do is assess the lie. This is sitting up quite nicely, but I know that on a downhill lie, the ball's going to come out lower. So it's going to shoot further when it lands. So I'll be playing for a little bit of run on this one to make sure that it comes out nice and low, but runs up nicely up the green. So all I need to do is set up to the ball, and again, my natural reaction will be to set up with everything else perfectly square. What I want to do is set up a line to the slope. So I've got a bit more pressure in my lead side. I've got my spine angle aligned to the slope. This time, we're going to make sure we do a nice 3/4 backswing, and this time I need to make sure I release down the slope. If you remember the previous one, an uphill lie, we had to swing up the slope. This one, we swing down the slope. And aligning my body to this slope really helps me do that. I know it's going to come out lower, so I've got a 6-iron distance in here, but I'm going to hit a 7-iron because it's going to come out lower, it's going to come out harder and faster and chasing up that green. So let's see how we get on. So I'm setting up into the slope. My spine angle is now aligned to the slope and I'm ready to go. Just want to feel like I stay nice and passive and nice and neutral with the body and just allow the club head to do the work it wants to do. Remembering to chase the club head down the slope rather than allow it to come up out of the way. Let's see what that looks like. Lovely. So that came out much lower, much hotter flight. It's landed just short of the green, and chased up, giving me the opportunity to get up and down. So these bad lies are not necessarily as difficult as you think they are if you just adjust your body, manage your expectations. That's the key. Focus on a really crisp contact and just allow the club head and the slope to do the work it's designed to do. Right, so now we've moved on to a position where the ball is below our feet. First thing, as we did with the other two lies, we've got to assess the lie. What is the ball going to do out of this lie? Naturally, the ball is going to want to move right off the shot. So I need to make sure I allow for that when I play the shot. And again, I need to make sure I set my body to the slope. So I know the ball's going to move to the right. So I'll be aiming slightly left of target, just a little bit. I want to make sure I don't aim in any trouble, so I'm aiming just left of my target. The temptation with a ball below your feet is to get down to the ball by bending your knees. What that does though is that shifts all the weight back to the heels and makes you really unstable and actually takes you away from the ball. So the way I like to do this is to set up to the ball, straighten my legs a little bit and get down to the ball with extra spine tilt. So I'm bending over further from the hips. So rather than bending my knees to get down to the ball, I'm keeping my knees nice and straight or comparatively straighter, and then I'm just bending more from the hips. So you'll find I've got a bigger spine tilt here. Then I just go ahead, stay in my spine angle as I'm hitting the shot. The key with all these uneven lies is to make sure we swing in control, nice 3/4 swing and all the way through to a balanced finish. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to get into the shot. I know the ball's going to move a little bit to the right. So I'm going to aim slightly left. I'm going to get down to the ball by bending from the hips a little bit. And I'm going to make sure I maintain my spine angle through the shot. Always swinging in control, making sure I get a great contact. Let's go. So you can see that ball's moved slightly to the right in the air, but because I stayed in that great spine angle and maintained good posture, I got a really good strike on it and the ball is now exactly where I want it to be. So as we move on to the final position in this video, this is ball above our feet. So again, first thing we do is assess the lie. I know that this ball is likely to move left off this lie. So if I'm gonna hit to a target, I know I've got to aim slightly right of it. It generally doesn't move as far left as you think it's going to. So just be really mindful of that when you're setting up and setting your position, but know that it will move slightly left. The other thing we need to be really cautious of is that we don't stand up really tall, because if we stand up really tall because we're getting to the ball, that will then restrict our leg action, it restricts our body pivot. So we need to make sure we're set up to this ball in a way that means we can maintain a nice spine angle. One of the easiest ways to do that is to grip down the club. So what is gripping down the club? Gripping in normal position would be held at the top of the grip like that. So you can see the length of the club we've got there. By gripping down, I just move my hands further down the grip, all the way down to the metal, which creates a much shorter club in relation to my swing. So we're going to do that, set up to the ball, make sure I maintain all my angles, but I still got to stand nice and tall, but I need to be able to move my legs. As with all of these uneven lies, I'm going to make sure that contact is key to propelling the ball forward where it needs to go. So I'm going to set up, gripping down the club, maintaining good angles, 3/4 swing, and just full commitment through the shot. Let's see what it looks like. Great shot. So you can see it's come off nicely, it's gone a little bit left, but because I allowed for that in my setup, I know that ball is going to end exactly where I wanted it to go. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, click on notifications to get notified of any new videos that come out. Your subscription and your support helps me produce more great content to help you improve your golf.